I do think that there is a lot breaking down. I absolutely do not think January 6th is the high watermark. Of course not. Do I think something like this will happen again at some point in the next 10 years? Yeah, absolutely I do. If a political system does not come down hard on this kind of anti-constitutional, anti-democratic attempt to overturn the results of an election, what do you do with that? If you can get away with it, you're just going to keep doing it. When people say this is the end of the Roman Empire, that's when I say, I don't think that that's true. This is not a situation where we are entering total state collapse and there's going to be like a kingdom of California. I think that would be overblown. The United States as an entity will continue on. But when you're talking about its political system, what does American democracy look like? What does representative government look like? Participatory government look like? Which the Romans had. For 500 years, the Romans had like a fairly participatory system because those guys did still have to troll for votes. They still needed to win elections in order to get ahead. So I think that there are things that we can talk about in terms of the political system transitioning from representative democracy to an autocratic regime. The United States of America, which is of course modeled on the Roman Republican system, has institutions just like Rome did with the consulship and with the tribunate, where if you just start vesting power and authority in one part of that system, you can keep the window dressing of a House of Representatives and a Senate and a Supreme Court. But we see this in sort of constitutional dictatorships with the window dressing of democracy, but actually it's just an autocracy. The American political system is well primed to move towards a presidential autocracy, right? The office of the presidency and the executive branch, the institutional framework is there for that office and the White House to become something like a truly imperial presidency, not just as a metaphor, but truly an imperial presidency that will come when these ambitious people and these ambitious politicians really just throw elections out the window and it all just becomes a power grab free-for-all, where power is all that matters and nothing else does. And you take that mentality, which I do see floating around out there, the only thing that matters is power and winning, and an institution like the presidency that is well primed to become an autocratic entity. You put those two things together and you've got an American dictatorship. The Roman Republic, what happened there was it got down to a point where ambitious men who wanted power stopped caring about the various rules, norms, laws that govern their behavior. What happens if you lose an election? What happens if you don't get command of a legion? What happens if your rival is going to put forward a popular bill and give them more votes and more clients than you're going to have, make them more popular than you? How do you respond to that? And for 500 years, they mostly just kind of did it in a round-robin rotational system where everybody was kind of happy. And then round about the 50 or 60 years before Caesar, right, all of that started breaking down. And they started escalating with each other. Rome held elections every single year. There is an election. It's going to go against some candidate. That candidate has on retainer sort of armed gangs. And they said, I'm probably going to lose this vote. So on the day of the election, I need you to come in with your gang and rough people up and beat them up. They had voting urns, right? Like literal physical voting urns that you would vote into, and they would knock them over basically to wreck the election itself. I'm not going to accept that my rival got command of this potentially lucrative campaign in Greece. I want that campaign for myself. So I'm going to send gangs to try to push his supporters out of the assembly so I can win the vote. After the Revolution of 1830, there is a moment when Lafayette has to go out and stop a mob of people who are going to try to swarm into the National Assembly building because they think that the people inside the National Assembly building are writing a new constitution for France that's more conservative than they would have preferred. And so you did actually have like a mob coming in to stop the national legislature from doing what it was doing. Those things I see happening right now in the United States. I think we all saw something like that happen on January the 6th. Because really what January 6th was about was trying to disrupt the legal transfer of power from one party to another, from one candidate to another, from one person to another. And they're just trying to get in the middle of that and use force and intimidation to stop that process, which is a very different thing from the more famous moments that you see in other revolutions or in other moments of history. But there are many parallels to this. This is unique for this moment in American history. It is not unique at all in terms of world history. When I have looked back at, all through revolutions and all through the history of Rome, the unique factor about Trump is not what he tried to do.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Or that he's a bad ruler, because when people ask me, is he like Louis XVI or is he like, Tsar Nicholas? The answer is those guys were actually, in my opinion, better rulers and actually better politicians, frankly, than Donald Trump was. And those are historically bad rulers. You kind of have to look at what was going on with some of the teenage emperors in Roman history in terms of just how kind of flippantly nonchalant they were with the power that they had at their disposal, and not like sort of the excessive horrors that we know from like TV, like with Caligula or with Nero.
Shall have a new name. Neropolis, city of Nero.
But just in terms of temperamentally and how they wielded the power that they had at their disposal. So what does the quote unquote American Caesar look like, or the American Sulla, or the American Marius? Like somebody who's going to come along and really push the system over and grab a hold of it. I don't know that we've seen exactly what that playbook looks like, but Donald Trump has shown us plain as day how much people are absolutely going to be willing to go along with that if and when it does come along.
Like say shalom, call loyam la Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi. Also give it the bonus at Elza GMS and honest at Akim, and peace and bless to you brothers and sisters that listen, hopeful elect. Call loyam la Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi. Do this quick lesson today to the power of Yahawah Ba'Shem Yahawashi. You just seen the video clip on Vice TV. Pretty much did how America's retracing in Rome's footsteps. And then the guy was breaking it down, that Edomite, and how America, pretty much the same thing as Rome, is going down, man. This empire, because but he didn't know what he was saying, but according to the scriptures, according to prophecy, America is that second Rome. America is an extension of Rome. Yes, this place is going down, and we always break it down how America's Rome. You look at the symbolism, the architecture. They both exalt themselves to the eagle. Is you have the political system, the democracy, the Senate, the president, the Senate, the Caesar, the quote unquote elections. All right. Then you had people in America are sports fanatics, man. Just like in Rome, they had the bread and circuses, gladiatorial games, and Jake was dominating back then as well. Okay. Then you had both was built off slavery, man. Both was built by slaves, and they also had multiple ethnicities in Rome as well, just like America, man. Okay, it's a great melting pot. Okay, and also how America was going down as well, following Rome's footsteps. Debt, and more debt. They just passed a stimulus package, $1.9 trillion, man. Okay, just like in Rome, they started using less and less silver in the denarius, man. Okay, and also they overexpanded their military. They was fighting war on all fronts. You see, that's why also Rome was falling. Same thing with America. Okay, this place is gonna go down, man, in the Third World War. And also, the main reason why America's going down just like Rome is because of the Israelites, man. Because back then, we know that you had the Christians, aka the Jews, that believed on the Mashiach, was spreading all throughout Rome and was raising hell in Rome. In so much that Claudius kicked us out when you read Acts 18 chapter, man. Then later on you had Nero, who started throwing the Jews in the arenas. Okay? And then later on it spread, and then Jake just took over. Okay, they never want to go into that part of history, how Jake took over, man. Okay, you have the Septimius Severus, the Persinius Niger, and a lot of those Roman Caesars were Jake as well, until it turned into the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, going down to Constantine the Great, when Esau was subjugated, man. All right. But we talking about America being the new Rome. The scripture says, and I'm going to get that. Matter of fact, let me get Daniel 2:31, because let's start with that. Daniel chapter 2, verse 31. It says, "Thou, O king," we know this Nebuchadnezzar's vision that he had. All right, and this is Daniel breaking it down to him. All right, it says, "Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, and his feet part of iron and part clay. Thou sawest till thou sawest stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet." That's Yahawashi. And Yahawashi is going to bring down this empire, man, along with the beast, okay? When the missiles are being dropped as well. It's going to finish the job, man. He's that great stone, all right? It says that whereof iron and clay, and break them to pieces. I'm going to go into the minute. Then was the iron and the clay and the brass, the silver and the gold broken to pieces, became as chaff as the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, and no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. All right, that's the kingdom of the Most High, Yahawashi's kingdom. This is the dream, and we tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the power of heaven have given thee a kingdom, power, and strength, and glory. And whosoever the children dwelleth, the beasts of the field, and the fowls of heaven, have he given unto thine hand. It started with Nebuchadnezzar. He was that gold, or the head. All right. You could go into how splendid Babylon was. One of the 7 wonders of the world, or the hanging gardens of Babylon. All right. It says, "Have made thee ruler over them. Thou art this head of gold. After thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom." We know the inferior to thee was the Persians and the Medes. The Persians overcame the Medes. All right. Another third king of brass, which we know that's going into the Greeks, which shall bear rule over the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, the Roman Empire. For as much as iron breaketh in pieces, subdue all things. And iron breaketh in these things, and it shall break in pieces and bruise. The Roman Empire was mighty, especially the military might. All right. But it wasn't as splendid as the kingdoms before it. All right. "Whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but they shall be in it the strength of iron, for as much thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay." Okay? "And as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken." And we've seen that with Brexit, right? The partly strong UK, Germany, but the clay, you have Ireland, Italy, Spain. A lot of those countries, the EU nations, are in debt. Okay, so it's partly strong and partly broken. You see? Now we know that stone that's going to break it, all these kingdoms in pieces, is Yahawashi. All right? So yes, America is a second leg of the Roman Empire, man. That's something to read Revelation, the 13th chapter. So yes, this place is falling in Rome's footsteps, because it's the new Rome, and it's ruled by the same Edomite. All right? And this place is deteriorating. Right? He started going into it, man, how this place is falling, because a lot of people seen that election and they were disheartened by it. And they believed that it was stolen, which, it was. And at the end of the day, whoever the elite want to win is going to win, man. Okay? But it just shows you that your kingdom is divided. All right? Just like Rome, man. There's insurrections amongst the people, man. All right? And that's the same thing you're seeing happening right now, because Esau, your time is up. That's when Revelation 13 chapter says, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and saw a beast right out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his 10 crowns, and his head the name of blasphemy. All right, which is going into the kingdom, the 7 heads of the 7 power structures, the Greeks, the Romans, the Brits, the Spaniards, the French, Dominion Minor, Dominion Major. The 10 horns are the 10 common markets that make up NATO. All right. And we know that the 8th head, when you read further on, goes into what? America, aka the whore. All right. So long story short, it says, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. Goes to Alexander the Greek, read Daniel the 8th chapter. And his feet was at the feet of a bear. So it started out like Alexander the Greek. But the Russians are going to end it, man. All right. The end of this man's kingdom. All right. They're going to bring each other down. And his mouth was as the mouth of a lion when that's going into Great Britain. And the dragon gave his power and his seat and great authority. So we know that the beast is NATO, man. And the dragon, read Revelation the 12th chapter, that goes into the Greco-Roman Empire. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. They came back into power in the Renaissance. Okay? The rebirth of the Roman Empire. Alright? And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Just like the first Roman Empire. They were known for what? Their military might. America. Especially when they won World War I. After World War II, this place was at its peak. Okay? At its peak, man. Alright? That was the golden days for you Edomites. You see? But it says, and there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies and powers given unto him to continue 42 months. Alright? Which also goes into the 350 years, 3.5 or 350 years. Okay? When Abba Business came on the scene. And that's when the truth came back into the earth. And that's also how Rome fell too, like I just mentioned earlier. Okay? We were out there prophesying, man, starting with the apostles on down, man. And it took over. You see? Same thing now. It says, and he opened his mouth in blasphemy, and against the Most High to blaspheme his name, and his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. Right? This place, man, this is Satan's seat, man. Nothing but blasphemy and wickedness here, man. Okay? Just like you had in Rome. Okay? All manner of evil was happening back then. See? In so much that those Gentiles, it was like foreigners, were totally into the ways of the Romans. You see? And they had to be converted. Just like now. Alright? But the scripture calls that untoward generation. It says, and it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given to him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. Going back to the book of Daniel. Okay? It was his time to rule. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life, of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and faith of the saints. And how did this man empire become so great? Is because of slavery, man. Slavery. Okay, that's the driving force of his empire. It's slaves. So it's only right that we get to put you in chains, man. I'm going to get that 2nd Ezra, the 11th chapter after this. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb. His 2 political parties, the Democrat, Republican. He spake as a dragon. Now he's speaking as a dragon. His draconian law. Okay? These harsh measures, these lockdowns, these restrictions. His mandatory vaccine. Then the chip. And he exercised all the power of the first beast before him. And that's the point I wanted to get out. He exercises all the power of the first beast of who? Of the Roman Empire. And causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. Okay? The first beast. What? The Roman Empire. See, so these people that's following the same image of the beast, that same system, man. Okay? Same Roman system. Okay, which ties into his democracy. You see? And you go into his whole his political system, his homosexuality, his science, especially now, man. Which also ties into his blaspheming. Okay? Pretty much anything he says is now factual, man. Nothing else matters. His opinion stands true. And that's what that guy was also saying, how Rome became. It pretty much became an autocracy, man. And you can see that right now. Your votes don't matter. It never did matter. Okay, but now the average person is starting to see that, man. You see, that's what scripture says. He's starting to speak as a dragon. Alright? Alright? And above all, we know his image of the beast also goes into what his New World Order, man. His NWO. And if you don't submit to it, as we see playing out right now, Scripture says what? He was going to get rid of you. He's going to kill you. If you don't worship the image of the beast, you're going to be killed. Except for who? Scripture says what? You read further up. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb. So the elect ain't going to worship the image of beast, neither they going to take his mark. The chip, man. Because they were preordained. And that's how we going to overcome him through the word. Just like we did back then. Okay? There's power in this book, man. Alright? So yes, America following Rome footsteps is falling. I beheld Satan as lightning fall from heaven. He's falling from his rulership. Okay? Yahawashi is bringing him down, man. Nothing is the same anymore. The glamour and the joy, when they trying to open things back up, it's no longer the same. Okay? The mirth of the land is gone. It tells it in Isaiah the 24th chapter, man. You see? He's sucking the joy out of this place. At the same time, Esau is being exposed in the process. At the same time, brothers and sisters is waking up. And that's why this place is falling, man. And at the same time, your kingdom is divided. At the same time, you're in an outstanding debt. At the same time, you're going to have to fight this third world's war. So the signs is evident. The signs is clear. It's called prophecy, man. That's why I'm going to read 2nd Ezra, the 11th chapter. Not going to go into the whole thing, obviously. I'm just jump straight to some points. 2nd Ezra, the 11th chapter and 12th chapter is going into the 12 Caesars from Julius Caesar down to Domitian. All right. And, goes into the first triumvirate, the second triumvirate, and Vespasian. And pretty much, I'm going to read this part right here because Ezra saw it. The Most High expounded more into Ezra than he did to Daniel. He tells him that. I read it. 2nd Ezra chapter 11, verse 35. And I beheld, lo, the head upon the right side devoured it that was upon the left. Then I heard a voice which said unto me, Look upon thee, and consider the thing that thou seest. And behold, lo, there was a roaring lion chased out of the wood. And I saw he sent out a man's voice unto the eagle, and said, it's going to the Israelites, Hear thou, I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, Art thou not thou that remainest of the four beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of the times might come through them? And the fourth came, the Roman Empire, and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness, and over the whole compass of the earth, with much wicked oppression. Okay? Wicked oppression. That's how this man rules. He rules by the sword. All right? He's that unjust king, man. All right? It says, and so long time dwelled upon the earth with deceit. All right? He painted his own image. He exalted himself that he was the Most High, man. That scripture talks about that great blasphemy. All right? It says, for the earth hast thou not judged with truth, man. And that's why this place is going down. Okay? For thou hast afflicted the meek, thou hast hurt the peaceable, because we know they destroyed Jerusalem. Thou hast loved liars and destroyed the dwellings of them that brought forth fruit, and hast cast down the walls as such as did thee no harm. Therefore thy wrongful dealings come up unto the highest, and thy pride unto the mighty. The highest also shall look upon the proud times, and behold, they are ended, and his abominations are fulfilled. So just like Rome fell back then, this place is going to fall as well. Right? This is going into the Roman Empire that I'm reading right now, 2nd Ezra 11. And therefore appear no more thou eagle. Okay? The eagle. So we know Daniel saw him as a dragon, but Ezra saw him as what is an eagle. Also in the book of Obadiah, you Edomites. Nor thy horrible wings, nor thy wicked feathers, nor the malicious heads, nor thy hurtful claws, nor thy vain body, that all the earth may be refreshed, and may return, being delivered from thy violence, and that she may hope for the judgment and mercy of him that made her. Call on Yahawashi. All right? So Rome fell back then, and this place going to fall. All right? Following its footsteps, man. And the scripture tell you that what? It's going to be a new heavens and new earth. Okay, the earth is going to be, They're talking about a reset. The Most High is gonna reset things, man, in order, man, right side up. All right. That's why the Most High said in Jeremiah 18:7. He said, "At what instant shall I speak concerning a nation, and concerning a kingdom, to pluck up and to pull down and to destroy it?" So the Most High has now pronounced judgment on this empire, and the average person can see it. The average Edomite can see it, man. See? No kingdom lasts forever, man. The only kingdom that's going to last forever is the kingdom of Yasharallah, the kingdom of Yahawashi, the kingdom of the Most High, man. The kingdom of heaven. That's the only kingdom that's going to last forever and ever, and it's not going to be left to other people. All right, so I'm going to close out this precept here. In Job 14:5, it says, "Seeing his days are determined, the number of his months are with thee. Thou hast appointed his bounds, and he cannot pass," man. All right, so just like ancient Babylon had a certain time period, all these kingdoms had a certain time period. All right, and they never went over it, man. So America has reached this time, just like ancient Rome, man. And what's a telltale sign that America was going to go down? As the scripture says, after the 42 months or the 3 days and a half. Okay, when the Israelites woke back up. That was what? That was it for you, man. Okay, it was time for you to go down, man. All right, because his chief adversary Jacob has now woken back up again. All right, that means your kingdom is done. As the scripture says, going into the he said that he shall bruise thy head, but what we was gonna bruise his heel. Jacob handheld Esau's heel, man. So the Most High was gonna use Jacob to bring down Esau, man. Okay, and we in that time right now. So that must say, call him la Yahawah Shalom.